I'm going to change all that. I'd like you to meet with a Russian reporter named Ludmila Kosh. She's the Washington correspondent for the Novaya Gazeta. She wants credentials and a seat on the press charter.
Why is she asking us?
The Russians have banned her from the summit.
Why?
She supported the other guy.
Time to teach these Stoli-drinking Tchaikovskys a thing or two about free press, American style. You don't ban those who supported your opponent. You make them wallow in their loserdom by covering your victory. You sit them in the front row, you give them a hat. I will save Ludmila Koss, for I am Toby, and in so doing, why am I going on like this?
I don't know.
Set up the meeting. Obviously, I have a little time.
Thank you.
Miss Koss.
Yes.
Toby Ziegler, come on in. You write for the Novaya Gazeta.
Yes.
Your circulation's gotten huge.
Highest daily in Russia.
And it's hard to tell whether that's because of your reporting, your editorials, or the naked women on page 3.
We did not invent this thing. Nor did we invent the comic strips or Lato.
Touché, madam. So what did you do to piss off President Chigorin?
President Chigorin does not like criticism.
Have you met someone who does?
That is not the point.
No, I'm just talking. Listen, you're already credentialed to cover our president. It's just a matter of putting you on the plane. And before I do that, I want to check with the State Department to make sure it's not a grotesquely insulting thing to do to a new president from whom the U.S. is hoping for quite a bit.
Oh, so your First Amendment only extends as far as is polite?
No, it extends farther than that, but it only protects us. Believe me, if we were able to enforce U.S. law around the world, I'd retire and go scuba diving.
You like diving?
I've never done it. I've never done anything, but I've seen pictures and it looks fun. I've seen pictures of people out there in the world and they all look like they're glad they are. Now, granted, when I'm looking at these pictures, somebody's usually trying to sell me something, but I'll tell you what, I'm 44 years old and I'm buying. I usually don't talk this much, but I'm having an odd day. Want to stay for a little and look at pictures of scuba divers?
No, thank you.
Okay, then. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to talk to you because I've been asked to put a reporter from the Novaya Gazeta on the press plane.
That's a mistake.
You understand I'm talking about a pencil and a pad of paper from which no one has ever died.
You understand there isn't a paper, any publication in Russia that's more critical of the Chigorin government.
Well, the editorial judgment aside, what's the damage assessment?
Well, the point of the summit is to build strong bilateral ties with a new administration, so...
We make it clear it's not personal.
How do you suggest we do that?
I don't know. What are the things I could do?
We got about a half dozen American reporters in Moscow whose credentials are pending. Toby, this is like if they credentialed the Enquirer to cover the summit.
If the Enquirer ever asked us, we'd credential them. Making sure the Enquirer can write whatever it wants is the only way I can be sure the New York Times is writing whatever it wants.
Well, you asked me what I thought. I'm 100% against it.
Hello.
Hello.
Here are your credentials for the plane. Here's your plane ticket. Here are your credentials for the palace, the Saturday press conference, the Arctic People's exhibit, the Sunday press conference, and the Hall of Flags.
Thank you very much.
By the way, I found out why Chigorin and his people have such a problem with you.
It's because I don't flatter them.
No, it's because you stink.
I beg your pardon.
You can beg all you want, you're not going to get it. Last month, you alleged that the Chigorin government bombed several apartment buildings based on an unattributed source. It was refuted. You never retracted it.
The government's case was all over the television.
Last week, you wrote a cover story about President Chigorin's mother-in-law moving closer to the Kremlin. You printed her home address. She had to relocate.
Well, that's her decision.
You reported the failing grades of the defense minister's 12-year-old son. Does that even count as journalism? Does that do anything but bring ridicule on a defenseless kid? We've got people like you here. On cable and on the internet. And there's no one anywhere on the ideological spectrum who doesn't roll their eyes when their names are spoken out loud. And we've always had free press here. We take it for granted. How can you treat it like this? You should give up your space and put another naked woman in there. Anyway. Here are your credentials.